relationship on the rocks.
I feel like I'm not important to you.
We reveal the secrets that will bring you closer together. How to save your marriage on the next Gordon Elliott Show. Welcome. On our show today, you're going to meet three couples who called us because their marriages were in serious trouble. We asked them to call. In fact, two of these couples were on the verge of divorce. We invited them to go through an innovative relationship program which we found and we want to introduce to you today called PAIRS, or the Practical Application of Intimate Relationship Skills. It's developed by Dr. Laurie Gordon, who you'll meet in a moment, and it's replacing and supplementing traditional marriage counseling. It's as if you have the tools that the counselor would ordinarily work for you when you go home and you do your own counseling. And you'll see how it has changed the lives of the three couples in crisis that are on today's show and how the program worked for them. But first, let me show you some of the issues that they brought to the program.
To me, he acts more like he's my father than he is my husband.
I always felt that whatever I don't like, I could walk away from.
I'm committed to only him, and I want his commitment to be just as strong as mine, especially when we got kids.
I just need her to show me a little more security, a little more trust.
Before I was married, I was just me in college. I didn't have to worry about anybody else. And now it's me, my husband, my kids, college, church, everything.
You're supposed to have a strong bond. And if you constantly bickering, arguing, and just constantly, you know, keeping each other just miserable, it's just breaking down that bond that you have. And pretty soon, what is left to hang on to?
Now, the reason we're doing this show, and we've invited these people to be brave and honest and truthful in what their problems are, is because I've never seen it before on television, where you can actually hear the truth in people's lives without screaming, setting aside the anger, and giving not only those skills to the people who are taking part today, but anyone who's watching. Now, we've had the help of Dr. Laurie Gordon, author of If You Really Loved Me and Passage to Intimacy. Please make a welcome, ladies and gentlemen. And our first couple, Deandra and Stanley Williams. Now, first of all, Dr. Gordon, I want you to explain why the PAIRS program is different to, say, traditional therapy that most couples find themselves in when they're in trouble.
Well, I would say that the PAIRS program teaches, empowers the couples who come to us to have the knowledge and have the skill to solve their own problems.
Right.
In other words, they do not have to sit with a therapist for years and years. I developed a semester-long course that actually I originally developed in graduate school, wanting to help future counselors have the skills that they would need to help their future clients. And then I found the graduate students were telling me that this was transforming their own lives. So I thought, why don't I bring it to my own institute and have not only individual, couple, family, or group therapy, but have a class. Because I think it is very respectful to offer people the knowledge and the skill they need so they can solve their own problems.
Well, let's begin with Stanley and Deandra. Please give them a round of applause. They're very brave. You called our show because?
Well, I called the show because I felt like we weren't communicating, and because we're not communicating, we can't get anything else done. I mean, when there's no communication, there's no intimacy, there's no time, you know?
Fun.
No fun. I mean, and we have twins, and that's even worse because that's the only thing we have to talk about anymore is our children.
Let's take a look at Stanley and Deandra, and they explain just how the relationship was before they began their course.
What would you like for yourselves? What brings you here today? How can you see me being of some help?
I know something's wrong. I don't know how to fix it. I know I love my husband, and I want our marriage to be successful. And I need to know what I need to do to keep it that way.
I always felt that whatever I don't like, I could walk away from. I'm at a point in our relationship where in the back of my mind, I keep thinking, well, maybe all this problems, you know, you can always get up and leave.
The things I'm involved in, like in school, I'm in choir and I'm in church, and he's not interested. The things that interest him, I don't care. You know, I'm like, and back to, you know, so we don't communicate well. And before it wasn't like that. Before we could talk about anything. I don't know what has come in between us that make it so hard for us to talk to each other.
We have no time to communicate. When we do, our schedules are so mixed up, and we have nothing in common like we had before.
How would you like it to be different?
I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of like upset with the choir bit.
Because?
I feel like we have very limited time together. And I feel like that's cutting into what little bit of time that we have.
Right.
Especially when our relationship is so rocky right now.
But I feel like that's the only time I have space for myself, something that I enjoy, you know? And if I don't do that, then I'm like up to here. I can't handle it, and I need that space just so I can breathe.
Could you say more about what your sadness is about?
I guess I've never had kids. I've never had to do all this at one time. Before I was married, I was just me in college. I didn't have to worry about anybody else. And now it's me, my husband, my kids, college, church, everything. And it's all at once. I just don't know how to go about doing it where that I still get what I need and our relationship works.
Right.
Well, I'm to a point where I got a job that I don't like. I'm in school, and the stress of school and the job and taking care of the kids and making her happy, and all that tends to weigh on you.
Sure.
And
the easiest thing seems as if it would be just let it go.
See, I don't want my boys to grow up the way I did. So I want to be there not only as their dad, but as their best friend.
You said, Stanley, that when things aren't the way you want them, you feel like the only answer for you is to leave. Where'd you learn that?
Well, my dad and my mom got divorced. Well, they split up around when I was 3 years old. And I really haven't had a male figure in my life the whole time I was growing up. So everything I learned was from the streets, or I taught it to myself.
And there are no relationship skills courses on the street, so you got to...
I couldn't sit at home and watch my parents because only one of them was there. My mother had a boyfriend a little later on, but you know, I still never took him as my father, so I didn't count that as the real relationship, somebody I wanted to roll myself after.
How bad was it before you called us?
Well, it was to the point where the only thing we discussed was our children.
Our problems.
And our problems. And we talked about them, but we never did anything. We just skirted around it.
What were you afraid was the next step? Divorce?
If not, separation. And I couldn't see taking care of my sons. They're only 9 months old. I don't have a job. You know, what would I do?
Dr. Gordon, how common are these problems? Not the specific set, but
enormously common.
So what did you see going on? I mean, they see choir practice, not giving time to Stanley, and Stanley wanting more understanding for what he needed.
They grew apart. The easiest thing is to lose each other. He undoubtedly felt that if she really cared about him, she would put him at the top of the list. She would not be spending her time singing when she could be with him. And she undoubtedly was feeling if he really cared about her, he would realize that she needed this time for herself, and this was a source of joy for her. And each one can be holding grudges, saying, you know, if you loved me, you wouldn't treat me this way. And then what happens is we hold the grudges, and how we handle that, whether we handle it by distance, by anger, by yelling.
You mean by emotional grudges, like, I'm not going to make you happy because I'm not happy.
You got it.
I'm not going to tell you you look nice because I don't get to be told I look nice.
That's right.
That's
right. You got it. Sure.
I lived it. You know what I mean? I do. I'm in the middle of this. You know?
Yeah.
Everyone is. I want to take a break because the next bit, to me, is the most powerful bit, which is when you sat, listened, and began to implement the skills that you had learned, and how that's changed just in what? How long have you been with us? 3 days? 2 days?
3 days.
My God. And you're in a different place. You're in a very different place now.
Yes.
Okay. We'll talk about emotional, what did you call it, allergies?
Literacy and emotional allergy.
Okay.
Emotional allergy.
I don't exaggerate when the next 4 minutes of TV could really change something for you. When we come back, you'll see what happened with Deandra and Stanley and what they learned about themselves and each other through this unique relationship exercise, which you'll be invited through their bravery to witness. That's next. Welcome back. We're talking to Dr. Laurie Gordon and Deandra and Stanley Williams. Deandra called the show because her marriage was in serious trouble. And so we called Dr. Gordon to help not only Deandra and Stanley, but 2 other couples you're going to meet. I want to go to the videotape, which were the exercises you taught them and the other couples. What do we need to know before we go to this?
Well, I think the term emotional allergy is the term that I invented. I am a physically allergic person. I react to ragweed and pollen and dust. And I realize that emotions are the same way, that when something is too much for you, you react with a lot of intensity. And we do this with the people we're closest to. And so if Deandra, say, goes to choir, and really what Stanley wants is for her to choose to stay home and spend time with him, he could be allergic to her walking out the door. And when she walks out the door, how he reacts to that will then determine what happens in the relationship, because he could scream and yell, he could turn off, he could stop talking to her.
Not because she's going to choir, but because of something that happened with Stanley, maybe when he was a little boy, or maybe
Possibly.
Other relationships he's had.
Could be that no one was ever there for him. Could be that the people that he wanted turned their back on him.
Right.
Everything was more important to them than he was.
And he doesn't.
And so now, when she walks out the door, that is similar enough to what happened before that it reminds him.
Right.
And he reacts. Right.
And Deandra's going, what's this? Going to choir creates this? You got a problem, but it's not me.
That's right.
So let's see how we confront those and how you dealt with them.
The emotional allergy that you trigger in me is anger when you don't get up when the boys are crying at night. That really bothers me. And when this allergy happens, what I feel about what happens is I'm mad, and I want to wake you up and scream at you, but I don't. And then what I feel about having this feeling is I feel a little bit guilty because I know you work, but I feel more anger than anything, more hurt, disappointed, because they're both of our kids. And the price we're paying for this in our relationship is I'm so angry, or I'm nagging you so much. Either I nag you too much or I don't talk to you. And then when we don't talk, then everything goes downhill.
And Stanley, you're going to hold her and you're going to tell her the words that she wished had been said.
I love you. And I'm going to try harder to get up at night with the boys. And I'm giving you 150% the best way I know how. I love you.
And Dee, you just take it in.
Thank you.
Just take it in. Whatever feelings come up, it's okay. Those are the words that you needed to hear. How did it feel to say those words?
I didn't know it really bothered her that much. Usually when we talk about it, she laughs and everything about it.
How does it feel, Dee, for Stanley to say those words?
It feels better. It makes me feel at least it can be changed, it can be fixed.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that there's a possibility. And when this allergy happens to me now, the way that I can let you know what's going on inside me is to talk to you, not to let it
to put it on the back burner or laugh about it or joke about it, to let you know then. If I have to wake you up and say, you know, I have to talk to you then, because the longer I put it off, the harder it is. And the way that you can help me with this is getting up and not complain and just go do it. I mean, we brought him here, we have to take care of him.
I'm happy that you brought me here. And I'm happy to finally get to hear how you feel. And I wish you would let it out a little bit more often. Because how you feel is important to me. And I can't get go any further on getting our relationship right unless you let me know what you expect out of me. Because I'm going off of touch and go when this is a new thing to me, and without your input, I'm going to mess the whole thing up, and I don't want to do that. You mean too much for me to lose over something like communication. A little thing like that shouldn't destroy the best thing I ever had, and I love you.
Stanley, what did you learn?
I learned that she has a tendency to hold back her feelings. Because I asked her, we have discussions about our relationship. And I'll ask her if how she feels, what about me bothers her. And she would tell me that everything's all right. And, you know, I tend to think that
everything's okay if she's not telling you.
It has me thinking, something must be wrong with me because I'm the only one that's seeing these problems. And if she really sees them, she's just trying to ignore them. And it had me like that's what was really confusing me.
Right.
It had me real
You knew
confused.
something was wrong, but you weren't getting. What's changed in your relationship now?
Well, we had quality time. We really did. We needed that. I mean, we got married. We didn't have a honeymoon. We just went to work. The next day, we woke up. That day we got married, we were off. So we went and got married and went and did our regular schedule like every other day.
But after the seminar 2 days ago,
After the seminar,
what's happened since?
we've had so much fun. We've talked. We've learned some tools to use when we need to discuss things so that we don't feel like we can't talk to each other.
Hearing him without anger, Stanley, the same thing? Is that what?
Yes.
What are the tools that they're talking about that they've got?
They were confiding in their partner about something they had very deep feelings about. The partner was listening and really wanting to be there. It's an exercise in what we call bonding. It's emotional closeness and physical closeness.
You know what I'm really bad at? You know what I'm really bad at, Stanley? You're probably, and most men are really bad at this. When my wife tells me, you know what the problem is? And then I'll listen to that. And before she's even got the next syllable out of her head, I go, go on, tell me, what's the problem? You know? It's like I am ready to attack before any words come out. And all she wants to do, she's not attacking me. It's taken me years to learn this.
Right.
Years.
Right.
She just wants to tell me. She just wants to get it out.
Well, my problem. My problem is she'll start talking, and I learned off of TV this little trick. You ever seen Bill Cosby talk about how his granddad just ignores his grandmother? Well, I learned that, and I could sit there and look at her, and I'm thinking, wow, if I brush up my stroke on that 8th hole.
And you look like you're listening? Well, I think the effect is that if the woman in your life feels that she's being heard, then that solves a lot of the problems immediately without you having to say a word.
Yeah, but for some reason, men don't tend to realize that all they really have to do is listen and have a little compassion,
Right.
a little understanding that will fix it.
Oh, no, hang on. We're fixers, you see.
Yeah.
If we hear something's wrong with a relationship, I've got to fix it. What's wrong? I'll go and fix it. And if I can't go and fix it, then my role in the relationship is I'm like, whoa, what do I do? I feel bad about myself. I can't fix it. And therefore, she's going to feel bad. So if she feels bad, it's my fault. And then I'm feeling worse. So I'm going to be angry at you because you made me feel bad.
That's right. But you see, they were fixing it.
They're fixing
But you
it.
saw it. They were fixing it.
Dr. Gordon is going to fix another couple, we hope, will try to, when they talk about the divorce that they were considering when one of them called our show. We're going to meet them and hear their story, similarly as we did with Deandra and Stanley. When we come back, don't go away. If you've had a lifelong relationship with your spouse and you now find it's falling apart and you want to try and fix it before it's too late, call me, 1-888-97-GORDY. Today we're doing a show with the bravery of couples who said, listen, it's either divorce or what you can help with our problems. So Renee and Stanley have been married for 10 years. And have 2 children, but that relationship has gotten to the point that it's so rocky in the last year, Stanley was talking divorce. Let's go back, Renee. What was Stanley like when you were first together?
Funny. I mean, you know, everything, we always did everything together. When you see him, when you see me, I mean, we were never separated from each other. I mean, we was always together. He made me laugh. I mean, he's just a comedian. So, I mean, everything is just...
So was happy?
Yeah, we was best friends right off.
Okay, but 2 days ago, this is what both of you had to say about the relationship as it is now.
With Stanley, he think I've developed a lot of jealousy and insecurity in him. So that's our main problem, because he think he can just go out, walk in, come in anytime he get ready, and that's a big problem with me. Being married, I think you have to show your wife respect.
I want her to understand that probably that I'm married to her, only her, love only her, and that she don't need to have this negative thinking every time I go out the door.
He'll walk out and he'll come back, don't call to see what's going on around the house. And I said, if I question him about it, he'll say, why are you questioning me? I'm a man, I do what I want to do, you know, different things like that.
She just doesn't understand. I mean, she wants me to be this type of person. I don't know, I guess one of these persons that she read in the book, that she read one of these Hollywood romances or something like that. But I'm not, I can't be no one but me.
I mean, I have values, old-fashioned values that he hate. You know, he said my values are just not in the 90s. I can't help if I love strong, you know. And it's like I'm committed to only him. And I want his commitment to be just as strong as mine, especially when we got kids. You want to set examples for them.
Are you satisfied with the way the marriage is?
I'm satisfied with it right now, you know, at this point. But it could be better if we learn to communicate a little bit more, be a little bit more open, be a little bit more trusting.
I mean, you know, if you want to save your marriage, and your marriage means that much to you, you would do what you can to save that marriage. You wouldn't threaten divorce. You wouldn't talk to her loud. And I never have anything bad to say about him. I always say how good he looked, make him feel, sit him on a pedestal. When he put me down on the bottom step.
You're supposed to have a strong bond. And if you constantly bickering, arguing, and just constantly, you know, keeping each other just miserable, pretty soon, what is left to hang on to?
If he feel like he's happy, he would be happier without me. I would be more than willing to give him that opportunity, but he couldn't come back.
Renee, how and why did things get so bad?
Well, things got bad a year and a half ago. You know, he's very outspoken. He say what he want to say, and I don't mind that. But we just don't communicate. I mean, things he do, he think he can do it because he's the man.
Right.
He think he can just walk out, come back 4 hours later, eat dinner, leave again, come back 4 hours later, leave and go hang out with the boys. I mean, how often do you go hang with the boys?
Right.
I mean, you got a family.
Well, let me ask Stanley why absence or even divorce leaving was the answer for you?
I guess I look back at the relationship my mother and my father had, and I guess when it gets to that point, you know, they was not very close, you know. He was not there, you know, for me. And I guess I looked at that escape, that way of escaping the marriage, or rather, you know, just try to leave all this stress and anger, all that behind.
Wow, did you see how Stanley had said the same thing? It was his dad left and your dad left, and that's the way men deal with it?
Sure. Follow the model they had.
Well, but also it's
pattern.
very tough to learn the alternative. The alternative requires a lot of guts and pain, which is to stay there and confront what's wrong with you in the relationship.
Learn how to do it differently. I think another thing that Stanley had going is that he has children in this marriage who he really wants to be a good father to.
Yeah.
And every time he's a good father to them, it reminds him of what he did not have. And that's painful.
Right. Well, we're going to take a break and come back next and see if Stanley and Renee were able to avoid divorce, how they feel about each other today, and what happened when they tried the same skills that you saw earlier with Deandra and the first Stanley. That'll be next. Don't go away. For your complimentary tickets to the Gordon Elliott Show in New York, give us a call at 212-975-8540, and please be sure to leave us your phone number. Welcome back. I think we're doing some good work today. Help me save my marriage. Stanley and Renee were with Dr. Gordon a few days ago when they underwent the same therapy that Deandra and Stanley had just gone through. Watch this and watch what I saw when I watched the tape and how Stanley hugged his wife the first time and then the second time. You probably don't even notice it, Stanley.
We're not on a level of communication. I feel like I'm not important to you. Like nothing matters to you when it comes to me. I feel alone, like I don't have anyone to talk to. You know, you've been my life for 10 years, and I want to share everything with you. And when you don't want to share anything with me, I'm alone. I need somebody to talk to. The price we're paying for this in our relationship is we're losing the trust that we have in each other. We're losing the bond, the relationship that we built, the memories. And remember when we used to talk, all the times that we used to just sit back and plan for the future. I mean, if we don't communicate, there won't be a future. The words I needed to hear from you is, let's sit down and talk. Let's take time for each other. And that you love me. You never say that anymore. You're silent. It's just like, you know, I don't exist. And I need to hear that you care about me.
I hear your cry, and I'm here for you. Listen to anything you want to say to me. I love you.
It feels like you, when you say those words, like you really do care about me. I thought that you didn't care anymore. When you wanted to just give it all up, I was beginning to think that that was best. And I feel like now that you really do love me. And I'm willing to work at it.
How's that feel for you, Stanley?
Yeah, it's a big relief, big burden off my chest. Hope that we can make a good go of it.
The way that you can help me with this is listen to me, understand me. The way you want me to understand you, we got to understand each other. And we can't understand each other if we don't listen.
Now you get to hug her and thank her for telling you.
Thank you for telling me that.
How are you feeling now, Stanley?
At ease.
At ease. Isn't that a nice feeling?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And Renee?
I feel good because he never let me know how he's feeling. He always keep it inside.
Mm-hmm.
And how you know what a person feeling if they don't let you know?
That's right.
So now I know how he feels.
Now you've got someone who does want to know.
I love you.
Now, what are you clapping for? That's curious. Tell me, what are you clapping for, Stanley?
Dr. Gordon, I was in a relationship for 5.5 years, and
Let me look at your beautiful eyes. Okay.
he hurt me in the past, and my goal was to hurt him too. I held a big grudge on him. So recently, 4.5 months ago, I left him. And I thought I was hurting him, but in the long run, I hurt myself. What do you do to avoid saying, don't walk out, keep trying? What do you do?
Some of what you've seen. You're talking about how do you let go of grudges so that you can get back to caring about each other. And what happens when you hold grudges is you want to get even. And so you thought you were getting even with him, and instead you hurt yourself and the relationship is over. That's what I hear.
Is that what you learned, Stanley?
Yes, it was. After going through the seminar, it awakened me to a lot of things that I was doing that I wasn't aware of. And I just, it's just anger that was telling me to just, leave.
Right. Well, why don't you grab this gentleman? What's his name? First name? Edgar. Why don't you come to the next show we do like this and see if you can put it back together again?
I know there's,
I'm
he told me
serious.
that there's a little chance, we have a daughter together, and she's constantly asking for him. He takes her every weekend.
Well, why don't you come back?
I wish I could.
Well, no, why don't you? We'll talk after the break, all right? Get him. If there's a little baby involved, it's really important, okay?
It's not that hard to change it if you know how.
You're watching it right now.
I want to change, but I just don't know how.
Okay, and that's what today's program's all about. We'll have you back. Our next couple had split up once already. No, don't sit down. You're not going anywhere. And we're reaching a point where they feared that it might happen again. You'll meet them and hear their story and see what happened when they tried these skills when we come back. Don't go away. Next couple, Buffy and Michael, have been married since they were teenagers, and they separated at one point. Although they are back together, their relationship hasn't been the same. I want you, first of all, to give them a big welcome to the show, Buffy and Michael Orsino. And this is like a lot of marriages in this country. You married when you were only 16, and Michael, you were 18?
Yes.
And you've been married how long now?
6 years.
6 years. Well, you continue to make a go at it, but obviously with all relationships with difficulties. Here's what happened in the first interview they had with Dr. Gordon.
Well, Michael and I got married very young. I was 16 and he was 18. After we had Joshua, I was more of a homebody, and then he started to do his own thing and started fishing and hunting, and we kind of grew apart at that time. Now that I want to go do things, and now that I want to go out with the girls or go shopping or something, it just seems like he has a problem with that. He acts more like, I guess to me, he acts more like he's my father than he is my husband.
There are a couple times she's come home really late, and sometimes she's come home, early, and it just bothers me when she stays out late, because it's just the nightlife. I just feel insecure.
Sometimes I do leave. Other times, like if it's supposed to be a girls' night out, and Michael's mad because I'm going to go out with the girls, and he says, well, you're going to be home at a certain time, then I just do it out of spite, just not to be home when he says that, oh, you're going to be home at that time, and then you know. I just kind of...
You're saying, don't tell me what to do.
You're right, yeah.
And when that happens, then how do you handle it?
I used to, you know, go out looking for her. Because I would think, you know, something was going on and I'd want to catch her. So I got very frustrated and angry and just went out just to catch her if she was doing anything. But, I mean, it never happened. I mean, never caught her, I mean, doing anything.
What do you think his worry is?
Michael's worry is that I'm going to run off with some other guy.
Well, it's true. What was your biggest fear, Michael?
Well, my biggest fear was that we wouldn't be together, or I'd lose her. I didn't want to lose her. I want everything to go okay. Because I mean, when I first got married, everything was fine. I mean, we talked, we had fun, we did stuff, and then problems came up later on, and then I got to the point where our trust wasn't there, and I just don't want to lose her.
You're doing a remarkable job, because the people you are at 22 and 24 aren't the people you were at 16 and 18. Rapid changes. Dr. Gordon, what do you think was most instructive in this relationship that you
Most
tried?
destructive?
Most instructive that you tried to teach them?
Instructive. I think that both Michael and Buffy are learning how to work out a contract that they're both able to live with. And I think the problem is that they married very, very young, and that the freedom that maybe normally you would have at 16 or 17 or 18, they already had given up when they made the commitment to marry. And so they had a contract, a marriage contract. But how do you work out a contract that you're both happy with when you are as young as they are? And then you have young children as well.
Well, we'll find out by watching the next part of the show, how they navigate the emotional minefields in their marriage next. For your complimentary tickets to the Gordon Elliott Show in New York, give us a call at 212-975-8540, and please be sure to leave us your phone number. Did you or someone you know experience an unexplainable miracle or fantastic event? Give us a call and tell us about your miracle at 1-888-97-GORDON. As a young couple who had already split up once, the statistics were very much stacked against Buffy and Michael. So when they began to learn and concentrate on what they needed to know to get through these difficulties, there was a lot at stake.
An emotional allergy that you trigger in me is when we get in an argument and I ask you questions sometimes I don't like. You tell me that being like your father, I don't think that you're thinking of me, and you're not paying attention to what I'm saying or how I feel. I get angry, it just makes me more intense and more aptitude to dig at you some more and want to yell at you, and just builds the frustration up. I don't want to yell and scream and get in an argument.
And Buffy, for you, it's to hold Michael and tell him the words that he needs to hear from you. You say it with sensitivity and with empathy.
I love you. I think of you as my husband and not as my father.
Well, that's all I want. Just want you to think of me as a husband.
What else do you need to hear from her?
Well, she loves me, and that I don't really have to worry about our relationship, and we're gonna get past our problems and work on our problems, and take care of our kids and be a family.
Could you tell him that, Buffy?
I do love you. And, you know, I want that more than anything. I want you in, and I want this family.
I'll try and communicate better and word my sentences so that it doesn't sound like it's something your father would say.
Well, I hope you will keep the dialogue going. It seems like there's a lot to be said.
We got a foot in the door right now, and as long as we don't take the foot out and the door closes, I think that we can keep on talking and make sure that these problems or arguments can be resolved. I love you too.
Just take in. We can give each other so much comfort and so much tenderness. We often don't know how to get there.
How did that feel to both of you? Did you feel empowered, better, accomplished?
Yeah, I felt relieved, you know, to let him know how I was feeling about my stepfather, and I felt that he didn't quite understand where I was coming from when I was telling him that.
Until 2 days ago.
Right.
Stanley said the same thing. You said you felt relieved when you felt like you'd let a weight off your shoulders. What is that? Where's that come from?
I think the relief of all the upsetting feelings being expressed, confided in someone who wants to know, and then what you feel is relief, pleasure, tenderness, and love.
When we come back, we'll talk about how we can do that for people at home, and also I've got some ideas for some more shows I'd like to do like this. I want to talk to people out there who are watching. I'd like to invite different groups of people and more on how we can develop those skills to make our relationships work and be fulfilling. Stay with us, don't go away. Air travel provided by United Airlines.
Brought to you by the more than 50,000 employee owners of United Airlines. We don't just work here. Come fly our friendly skies.
Special thanks to Dr. Laurie Gordon, who has brought this together today. And if you'd like more information on PAIRS, you can call 888-PAIRS-4U or visit PAIRS on the internet at www.pairs.com. And I want to thank most particularly our guest, whose emotional courage and bravery by coming to the show, giving us your truth and your life, and letting others see how it can be fixed. You've done enormous work today. I really thank you for that, and I hope it works in your life from now on. Thank you. We'll see you again. There was more shows like this you'll see on this program. And we'll see you next time. Cheerio, America. Now, I'm going to go check you out.
A promotional fee paid by...